used to believe love was a shield, a force that made you untouchable, invincible. I believed it with her, Sara. We had shared years of quiet mornings, late-night talks, dreams whispered over the hum of a ceiling fan. Every part of me trusted her implicitly. Every decision I made, every moment I lived, included her. I didn't just love her. I relied on her. That trust shattered the night I stumbled across the first lie. At first, it seemed harmless. A message on her phone, a name I didn't know, a meeting she said didn't exist. I wanted to dismiss it, to convince myself that I was imagining things. But there was a subtle tension in the way she answered questions, the way she guarded her phone, the careful smile she gave when a friend called. Something didn't fit. I started paying attention, quietly and deliberately. I noticed the patterns, late nights she could never explain, small contradictions in her stories, laughter that didn't reach her eyes when certain names were mentioned. I cataloged everything, keeping notes in a notebook disguised as a journal. Dates, messages, receipts, all fragments that, when assembled, formed a story she could no longer hide. Anger flared in me, but I refused to let it control me. Confrontation in haste would be easy for her to dodge. She was skilled at charm, at manipulation, at twisting reality to her advantage. If I wanted real justice, real consequences, I needed patience. I needed strategy. I needed to turn her lies into a mirror that reflected her actions back on her, where they could no longer be concealed. For weeks, I became both observer and architect. I rebuilt my own life in parallel, waking early, returning to routines I had abandoned, rekindling friendships that had been neglected. I didn't want her to see the anger in me. I wanted her to see the calm, to underestimate the depth of my awareness. I became precise, calculated, and patient. Her lies grew bolder, fueled by her confidence in my oblivion. She thought she could get away with her betrayal, that love would protect her from consequence. I led her. Every lie became a piece of evidence, every manipulation a building block for the reckoning I was preparing. I wasn't seeking public spectacle. I was seeking inevitability. The night I acted, I created the perfect setting. I invited her for dinner, cooked the meals she loved, and set the apartment in a familiar, comforting way. The table smelled of rosemary and roasted vegetables. The playlist hummed softly, and the world outside was ordinary. But inside, the truth was waiting. I slid the notebook across the table. At first, she smiled, a casual, confident smile meant to reassure. Then her eyes caught the notebook, and for the first time in months, the mask faltered. I opened it and began reading aloud, not with anger, but with quiet authority. Dates, messages, receipts, times, and locations. Each fact landed like a coin dropped into water, sending ripples she could not ignore. Her initial reaction was disbelief. She laughed nervously, tried to charm her way out, deflect, rewrite the story. I didn't flinch. The ledger of truth was patient. It didn't require drama or shouting. Each entry confirmed what I had known in my heart, but could not prove until that moment. Her veneer cracked as reality pressed in. Unyielding, she begged, pleaded, offered rehearsed explanations and excuses. But I remained calm. I didn't need to humiliate her. The exposure of her own actions did that for me. The world she had tried to hide behind love had disappeared. I watched as she realized that trust, once broken, leaves no safety net. Every lie she had crafted, every deception she had nurtured, now reflected back on her, unmasked and undeniable. I didn't shout. I didn't break her in public. I simply withdrew the privileges she had counted on. My unquestioning trust, my complicity, my willingness to overlook inconsistencies. The quiet withdrawal of my presence, my attention, and my support was the revenge I chose, surgical, precise, and inescapable. She had assumed love would shield her. I showed her that love, once betrayed, could enforce consequences far more powerful than anger. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my life further. I strengthened the relationships she had neglected, focused on personal ambitions I had set aside, and let the lessons of betrayal shape me into someone more self-assured. She tried to reclaim influence, but it was too late. The structures she had relied on, my tolerance, my forgiveness, my silence, were gone. Her social circle began to notice inconsistencies, the subtle truths that had been invisible to them before. Her lies, once invisible, now isolated her. The satisfaction I felt was quiet but profound. It wasn't cruelty, it was reclamation. She had turned love into lies, and I had turned lies into accountability. I had loved, been deceived, and emerged stronger, smarter, and more vigilant. The revenge wasn't in hurting her, but in refusing to let her deception continue unchecked. In reclaiming my life from the world she had distorted. Months later, I looked back and realized the full arc of what had happened. Love had given me vulnerability. Betrayal had tested my limits. Revenge had revealed my strength. I walked away with more than freedom. I walked away with clarity, dignity, and a renewed sense of self. The world she had tried to manipulate had realigned itself around truth. And I no longer needed to fear deception because I had learned to observe, document, and respond with precision. The lesson was simple, harsh, and unforgettable. Love can be exploited, but lies always leave a trace. And the person who wields truth carefully will always find a way to restore balance. I had loved deeply, been deceived thoroughly, and ultimately, I had won. Love turned to lies. And lies turned to revenge. And in the quiet aftermath, I discovered the power of patience, strategy, and reclaiming one's own life from the hands of betrayal.